Don't mess with the DEA. They work in La Mosquita, but they can't catch people. They're too fast. What people need is the gospel. Once they have the gospel, they'll stop doing drugs. So the drug trade will be non-existent, flowing through Honduras. It sounds like a simplification, but it's not. Only the Holy Spirit can change your desires. You can't do it by yourself. People have tried. Thank you. I'm going to do chapter 5. When Mom came back into the waiting room, I could tell she had been crying. I asked about Dad, but she didn't answer me. Joanne asked about her interview with Agent Pelton. She said she would talk to us about it tomorrow. I have a very bad feeling. It's hard to believe, but I think the worst is still to come. The phone next to Patricia Osborne's bed rang at 3 a.m., and it was Agent Pelton. I think it's time for you to change hotels, she said. Half awake, she looked out the window. Can we at least wait until it's light out? The kids are still asleep. No. An inconspicuous van without passenger windows picked them up in back of the hotel. Yeah, this is real government stuff. We sent a decoy family out a few minutes ago, Agent Pelton informed them, just in case. This had been an unnecessary precaution. When the van pulled away from the hotel, Barry Jones and Paul Snyder were sound asleep in the front seat of their car. After a short drive, the van turned off the road and came to a stop. When the Osbornes got out, they were surprised to find themselves in their own garage. June Saunders was waiting for them. Standing next to her was a man and woman they had not met. Agent Pelton introduced them. This is Doris Welty and Donald Smites. They're in the United States Marshals. Doris smiled. We'll be spending a lot of time together during the next few weeks. We're handling all the details of your relocation. It might be awkward for you kids to call us Marshal Welty and Marshal Smites, so why don't you just call us Uncle Don and Aunt Doris? Relocation? Jack looked at his mother with confusion. What's going on, Mom? Guys, there's a place where they'll never be found. It's San Pedro de Tutule. Y allá no hay teléfono, no hay internet. They have to go out to La Paz. Your father has decided to cooperate with the Drug Enforcement Agency, she said. He's going to tell them what he knows. After he's been assured that you're all safe, June added. What does that have to do with us? Joanne asked. Let's go into the house, Agent Pelton suggested. They sat down at the kitchen table. We're putting you into the witness security program, Uncle Don explained. That means we'll be providing you with new identities. You'll be moved to a new house, attend new schools. And Joanne looked at her mother in shock. You knew about this? I knew it was a possibility, she answered, but I didn't know it would happen so soon. It's much better if we move quickly, Uncle Don added. We decided to take advantage of the hotel change by letting you tag all the things you want us to move. I don't understand, Joanne said. As soon as they figure out that you aren't at the hotel anymore, they might stake out the house. We aren't going to give them that chance. Well, we were being watched at the hotel? Jack asked. We don't know, Agent Pelton said. But we're assuming you were. These people are professionals and have the best surveillance equipment that money can buy. After you've tagged your things, we'll take you to a hotel out of town, Uncle Don continued. You'll be there until you're relocated, Doris said. From this point on, you can't contact anyone. What about our friends? Joanne asked. Aunt Doris shook her head. I know this is hard, but it's the only way to keep you safe. Hard? Jack thought. This is impossible. It's a nightmare. For how long? It's permanent, Uncle Don said. Jack stared at him in stunned silence as this sunk in, then looked at his mother. Why, Mom? We don't know anything. We didn't do anything wrong, Agent Pelton answered for Mrs. Osborne. I'm afraid that doesn't matter to these animals. They're after your father, and the only way to get to him is through you. But if Dad tells you what you want to know, why would they come after us? To make a statement, Agent Pelton said, to show their people what happens if they talk to us. What if you arrest them? Joanne asked. Do we get to come back here then? Agent Pelton shook his head. I wish it were as simple as that. When your father tells us what he knows, the best we can do is stop some of the drugs they're sending across the border. We won't catch all the people running the ring. Most of them don't live in this country. They'll send people after you and your father. Men like the ones who broke into your house the other night. Maybe the same men. They'll pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars to hurt you. Aunt Doris put her hand on Joanne's shoulders. We can't keep you under protective custody forever, but we can hide you so securely that they'll never be able to find you. This can't be happening, Joanne began to cry. How could Dad do this to us? Patricia put her arms around her. Uncle Don stood up. We don't have a lot of time. We need to have you out of here before daybreak. And he reached into his pocket and came out with a bunch of red tags. We have moving boxes upstairs. You'll need to pack your things and tag whatever you want to take. But I'm warning you, I don't know where you'll be moving to, but I can guarantee you it won't be as big as this place. You can't take it all with you. Read the book of Timothy. It didn't take Jack long to fill up 3 moving boxes with the things he wanted from his bedroom. He looked around at what was left and decided he didn't need another box. There was just one more item to pack. He slipped down the stairs and out the back door without anyone seeing him. He crossed the backyard, finding it difficult to believe that this was the last time he would ever go into his father's workshop. When he had completed his first journal, Jack had brought it to his father and asked where he should keep it. That's the problem with diaries, his father had mused. How do you keep your private thoughts private after you write them down? I think we should build a special journal box. We'll put a lock on it and find the perfect place to stash it. They had spent the rest of the day and part of the next working on a box. It was made of varnished hardwood, deep enough to hold several journals. Jack's father put a clasp on the lid so the box could be locked. And as a final touch, he attached a brass plate to the box engraved with the words, Jack in the Box. Very funny, Dad. I thought so too. Here's the key. His father gave him a chain with a key suspended on it. I'll keep the backup key in case you lose yours. Jack put the key around his neck. And I have the perfect place to hide the box, his father told him, squatting down on the floor in front of his workbench. If you undo these 2 screws, this front panel comes off. He handed Jack a screwdriver. Jack twisted the screws out. Underneath the panel was a small shelf. He slipped the box in and replaced the panel. There you go, his father smiled at him. But Jack was still not convinced. You know the secret place, and you have a key to the box. His father put his right hand over his heart and said, Jacko, I promise I will never read your diaries. Good enough? Good enough. As far as Jack knew, his father had not broken that promise in the 5 years he had been using the Jack-in-the-Box. When he turned the shop light on, he was relieved to see the panel was still in place and that the DEA had not found it. He unscrewed the panel. The box was exactly where he had left it 8 months earlier when he had put his last journal in it. Back inside the house, everyone was so busy packing they didn't even glance at the small wooden box he had under his arm. He took it up to his bedroom and put it into a cardboard moving box underneath Commander If's space shuttle. After everything was packed, the Osborns gathered in the empty kitchen with June Saunders. They stood for a long time without saying a word in the place they had once considered the heart of their home. I guess this is it, June sighed. After this, we won't be able to have any more direct contact. If you need me, you'll have to go through the U.S. Marshals. Why? Patricia asked. You're my attorney, in case I'm being watched. They don't want me leading them to you. But Neil said you're the only one he trusts to tell him that we're safe. I've thought about that. When you think you're safe, just send me a simple postcard with nothing written on it. I've got just the thing, Jack said excitedly, and ran back up to the box in his room. He came back to the kitchen holding a blank postcard he had gotten when they visited the Kennedy Space Center. On it was a photo of a space shuttle coming in for a landing. That will do, June nodded. When you think everything's okay, send it to me. As soon as I get it, I'll go to Neil and tell him he can proceed. Patricia put the postcard into her purse. They're gone, Barry said into the phone. There was a very long silence on the other end of the line, followed by a simple question from Alonso Aznar. When? We're not exactly sure, Barry said. They must have slipped out in the middle of the night. Paul and me couldn't cover all the exits by ourselves. You have checked the house? Yeah. They're not there, and by the looks of things, they're not going back. Not much left inside. I'll be in touch. Alonso's next call was to Benjamin Bender. When that unpleasant conversation was over, Bender took a taxi to the Federal Detention Center to speak with his client, Neil Osborne. Our friend was quite surprised when he learned you spoke Spanish. Neil grinned. I bet he was. On a totally different subject, Bender added, it seems that your family unexpectedly checked out of their hotel. Checked out? Neil tried to act surprised. Our concern, Bender continued, is why they left the hotel. Your wife comes by to see you last night, and a few hours later they leave. It's news to me. Pelton had told him that morning they had moved them. Neil hoped Alonso didn't know where they were. What did you discuss during your visit? Bender asked. I spent the whole time trying to talk her into dumping the June Saunders and letting you handle things. But she wouldn't go for it. She doesn't trust you. Do you? There's no one else I can trust. That's correct, Bender nodded in approval. She hasn't told anyone about her visitors? She knows what will happen if she talks. What are you getting at? We're wondering if you've made a deal with the DEA in exchange for protecting your family. Not yet, Neil said, but I will if you lay a finger on my family again. We won't as long as you do exactly what we say. Then we won't have a problem. Bender stared at Neil for a very long time. Neil met his gaze, but couldn't tell if Bender was buying his story or not. So things are getting even more exciting in the story. I'm starting to like it. Good job, guys.